You're listening to the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast, episode number 99.
Welcome to the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast. Business advice so easy, you'll feel like you're cheating. And now your host, Amy Porterfield.
Hey, Amy Porterfield here, and welcome to another episode of the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast. You guys, we're at number 99. You know what that means, right? Next week, we are going to celebrate number 100. Finally, it feels like it's taken me a lifetime to get there. Now, next week's episode is pretty special. It might actually include an opportunity for you to fly to San Diego and come to my house. But listen, I'm giving too much away. There's a special contest. I wasn't even going to mention it, but I can't help myself. But there is something really cool in episode 100. So do not miss it. I cannot wait to share it with you. But let's focus on today's episode. The basic concept of today's episode is to get as much mileage out of one piece of really good content while growing your email list every step of the way. Another way to put it is that the strategy we're diving into today is all about getting deliberate about your content creation and extending it across all your social media channels and your own platforms like your email list, while putting a big focus on building your email list even more. I'm calling this strategy a list building Blitz campaign, super snazzy title for something that quite honestly is pretty simple. So I created this content framework because one of the big reasons why many of my students struggle with list building is because there's a lack of original content in their overall strategy, at least a lack of consistent original content. So the list building Blitz campaign makes sure that your content gets the mileage and traction it deserves. Let's face it, we put some blood, sweat, and tears into our content, right? We take it really seriously. So why not put a bigger focus on getting it out in front of more people when we are creating it? So the strategy here is incredibly simple in terms of breaking it all down, but it also takes some thought and effort to execute it properly. So I'm not actually suggesting that you do this with every single piece of new content that you create. Instead, I'm suggesting you're selective with this mini campaign concept that I'm going to lay out for you, and maybe consider doing it once a month. I think once a month would be the sweet spot. If that's too much for you, then pull it back even more. But I don't think you need to do it with like every single weekly blog post you put out there. And you'll see there's some work involved for sure. Now, I've heard that Brendon Burchard has something called circular virality. I've never learned it, but I've heard that it's kind of amazing. And I'm pretty sure it's really similar to what I'm going to teach here. But where I think mine differs a little bit is that I'm going to put a bigger focus on list building, and I'm not suggesting that you do this with all of your content. So just know, shout out to Brendon. I think everything he does is amazing. And I'm pretty sure he's got something really similar, and that's awesome too. So just for the record, wanted to put that out there. Now, before we get into the specifics and I explain the freebie worksheets that I designed for this strategy, I wanted to tell you that this episode is sponsored by my own List Builders Lab, my step-by-step list building course that I am incredibly proud of because I know that your entire business can change when you start to put a very big focus on list building. So I just created a brand new free masterclass called the 5-Step Plan to Grow Your Email List Using Free Social Media Strategies. You can watch it when you go to amyporterfield.com/list building. So make sure to check it out. It will enhance everything you learn in this specific episode. So we've got a lot of good synergy going on. Okay, so let's move on to the topic at hand. Now, as I mentioned, this strategy is a mix of getting your lead magnet out there in multiple strategic ways and also expanding your content to make sure that all the hard work you put into creating stellar content lives on beyond just a blog post and a few social media posts that likely get lost in all the noise. I'm going to break things down for you and really help you understand how to create the content for your list building Blitz campaign. But first, I want to just lay out the strategy. I want to go through the steps of what this would look like. Now, there are a few ways you can do this, and I've broken it up into 3 different checklists, and those are the freebies for today. So I created a checklist if you have a blog, but you do not have a podcast, or if you have a podcast, or if you just love to do videos and you want to lead with that. So there's 3 different checklists that I created for you. I'm going to go over each of them right now, but don't worry, you don't need to take a lot of notes because those are your downloadable freebies. So all you need to do is go to amyporterfield.com/99 download, or you can text the phrase 99 download to the number 33444. So don't forget to grab your checklist because they're going to be incredibly helpful for you to stay organized as you do your first list building Blitz campaign. Okay, so first, let's talk about what the checklist would look like if you had a blog, but you do not have a podcast. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to write an epic blog post that includes a content upgrade. So if you've ever listened to any of my episodes about a content upgrade, basically that's just a freebie that you build as an opportunity into your blog post. Now, backing up a little bit more, you might have already heard me talk about an epic blog post in another episode I've done. But what I mean by that is it's a blog post that's better than just your average blog post. It usually is a little bit longer. It's really detailed. It tends to include a lot of images or a lot of links to other resources. It's really like a guide inside of a blog post. It's something that people want to share, go back to, find it incredibly valuable. They actually talk about it like, have you seen Janet's latest blog post about XYZ? That usually is an epic blog post. Probably takes you twice as long to create, but that's why I don't want you doing this every single week because I'm telling you to write a really juicy blog post and then include a freebie in there. Now, if you've ever asked the question, well, how do I know what content to put in a blog post versus what to put in the freebie? I will get to that. So just know we are going to talk about content. First step, write an epic blog post that includes a content upgrade. Number 2, email your list with a link to the blog post. So you're going to email your existing list, encourage them to go check out your blog post so you're adding value to them instantly. Number 3, you're going to create a 1-minute video about that blog post, like maybe one specific topic in that blog post or why it's so valuable, why they need to go check it out. So a 1-minute video, and you're going to run a Facebook ad, a video Facebook ad to your blog post. Now, some of you are like, whoa, that's a little bit advanced, Amy, but I believe you can do it. So if you're feeling like that's over your head, don't let it be. The video can be totally off the cuff. You could be walking on the beach, walking down the street, doing it in your home office. I'm not talking about a professional video. It's you flipping on the camera and saying, hey, I've got this brand new blog post. It's about XYZ. Here's why it's so valuable. Go check it out. That's what I'm talking about. Number 4, do a Periscope session about the topic and drive traffic to your content upgrade. So what you'll do here is you'll say, hey guys, I want to talk about XYZ on your Periscope. And then throughout, you're going to tell people if you want to go deeper with this, I've got a freebie. Now you have 2 options here. The freebie can actually live on its own reg page, and that's where you're sending your Periscope traffic. Or if you want them to read the blog post first, you could just send them to your blog post. I don't think that's like the most strategic way to go about it. So one of the steps you might want to take is to create that freebie, have it live inside your blog, but also have it live on its own reg page. And so from Periscope, you could send them over there. Now, here's where my strategy gets really specific. On Periscope, you're not just regurgitating the entire epic blog post. Instead, you're taking like one little theme in that blog post, and then you're going to riff on it and kind of elaborate on it and engage with your audience about that topic. So your list building Blitz campaign is not like taking one piece of content and just putting that exact content everywhere where it matters. You're actually adding a little twist here. You're elaborating or you're expanding in different social settings, but it's all around that same core idea or core message that you've created in step 1. And in this case, you've created in that epic blog post. So you're going to jump on Periscope. If you've never done Periscope, maybe it's the time to try it out. If you want some pointers about Periscope, I did one of my most favorite interviews with Zach Spuckler, episode number 94. So amyporterfield.com/94, and you can learn how to get started with Periscope. Okay, so step number 5 would be to post the video you did on Periscope onto YouTube. Now, Zach actually isn't a fan of this. I wrote him an email and I said, what do you think of this? And he's like, I don't like to share my original content on Periscope on YouTube as well. But Zach also Periscopes daily. So if Periscope isn't something you're doing on a regular basis, I like the idea of putting it on YouTube to actually get more traction from that video. So that's what I'm going to suggest here. Step number 6, post that same video that you did on Periscope and you put on YouTube on Facebook. So in this case, we are repurposing the exact same content. The exact same video from Periscope is going to be on YouTube and Facebook. Number 7, Instagram. So you've got some options here. You can create a 15-second video to post on Instagram and drive traffic back to your blog post. Or you could take a few powerful quotes from that blog post and turn them into quote images and use that as the image on Instagram and then talk a little bit about it in the comment section on Instagram where you're encouraging people to go check out your blog post. Or post any image on Instagram that will align with or spotlight your content and drive traffic back there. But here's something important. During this time, you need to make sure that the link in your bio goes directly to that epic blog post. So in this case, on Instagram, I wouldn't send people directly to your content upgrade, your freebie. I would send them directly to your blog post. And then from there, they can get the freebie if they want it. Number 8, create 3 different tweets that drive traffic to your epic blog post. So that one's easy, right? And number 9, if you use Pinterest, I would create an image that represents something related to your blog post and drive traffic from Pinterest to your blog post. So here's what's important. Remember, this is in the cheat sheet. You can get all this content there. But what's important here is that you're taking one central core messaging idea, which is the epic blog post, and then you're expanding it throughout all these different platforms. But sometimes you're putting a twist in on it. Like on Periscope, you're talking about maybe one topic from the blog post. On Instagram, you're pulling out just a little bit and then you're hinting at it and driving people to the blog post. And on Periscope, to back up a little bit, you're likely sending people directly to the freebie on its own reg page versus sending them to your blog post. Since Periscope, you're going to talk a lot about the content, so I don't think then they need to read an entire blog post and then get your freebie. Here is the mindset around your list building Blitz campaign. It's all about building your email list with core quality content. So everything you do, you want it to eventually lead to people getting your freebie and joining your email list. So I want you to keep that as your central theme as you do each of these steps. Okay, so let's transition a little bit and let's go through the list building Blitz campaign if you have a podcast, but you don't love making videos. So we're not going to start with making videos. You have a podcast, we'll start there. Number 1, you create an epic podcast episode that includes a content upgrade. So if you follow my podcast, you know I do this pretty regularly, that I'll create some kind of mini training like I'm doing now, and I have some kind of free giveaway that goes along with it. And I try to make that giveaway so very valuable, whether it saves people from taking a ton of notes or it gives them the exact roadmap to take action, whatever it might be. So that's what I do on my podcast, and that's what I'm encouraging you to do with your epic podcast episode. Number 2, you're going to take that podcast episode and turn it into an epic blog post. So not just show notes, you're actually going to build out a whole podcast. So if people never listen to your podcast episode, they would still get immense value from your blog post. We're just adding more value there. Now, I use Smart Podcast Player on my show notes. And if I were to do an epic blog post from one of my podcast episodes, which I've done in the past, I'd still put the podcast player at the top. And I'd tell people, hey, you can dive into this on my podcast, or you can just keep reading here. But there's a little bit of a distinction there. It's not just show notes. Number 3, email your list with a link to the podcast episode. Number 4, create a 1-minute video about your podcast episode and run a Facebook ad to your epic blog post that has your podcast player on it. Okay? So then I'm going to encourage you to do the same stuff. Do a Periscope. Put that Periscope on YouTube. Put that Periscope on Facebook as well. And then the same stuff for Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest. Just looks a little bit different in the beginning. And then finally, we're going to go into our last list building blitz campaign. Let's pretend that you are nothing like me and you love to make video. Because if you know me, you know video's not my friend all the time. So let's pretend though that you love to make videos. Well, then you would start your list building blitz campaign with a video. And it should be like a valuable, really rich video. It doesn't have to be incredibly long, but I'd say it was probably at least 5 minutes and maybe even goes on to 15, 20 minutes if you're really teaching something substantial. So you're starting with a value-rich video, and you are talking about a content upgrade in that video. So you're telling people where to go to dive deeper into that freebie. So you have a freebie attached with whatever it is you're teaching in that video. And then number 2, you're taking that video and you're going to edit the audio to turn it into a podcast episode if you do have a podcast. So that is just repurposing right there. And then number 3 is you're going to take either the video or the audio or whatever you want to do, and you're going to write an epic blog post that is very similar to the video and very similar to the podcast episode. And in that epic blog post, you're going to include a link to a content upgrade. So if anybody's new with this term content upgrade, I should have said this earlier, go to this episode here, amyporterfield.com/99, and you'll see that I have a big yellow bar in my show notes. And that big yellow bar is my content upgrade to get these PDFs. So if you don't go to amyporterfield.com/99 download, you could just go to amyporterfield.com/99, check out my show notes, and right there is your link to my content upgrade. So that's what I mean by that. Okay, so number 4 is you're going to email your list with a link to your epic blog post, or you could send them directly to a video if you want. So wherever you want to send people, but you should email your list because you're giving them immense value. One of the things that my students ask all the time is, what should I be emailing out every single week? Well, this one is a given, and you've got some options in this case. Number 5, you're going to create that 1-minute video and you're going to run your Facebook ad. I'd say run it to your epic blog post because you own that. You don't own YouTube. So I don't think I'd send a lot of Facebook ad traffic to my YouTube video, but I'd send them to my blog post. And you could embed your video in your blog post if you want. And then you're going to do a Periscope session. Now here's where it gets interesting. You're not just going to do a Periscope session and regurgitate every single thing you said in that initial video that you created for YouTube. So now you're going to take a theme of that video and maybe dive deeper or put a slant to it or get some feedback from your audience and kind of riff off that on Periscope. But it's going to be a little bit of a different video, but just along the same messaging and theme. And then from there, I'd put that Periscope video on Facebook, and I do the same with Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest as I laid out in that very first example. So I know I ran through these quickly, but I ran through these quickly knowing you're going to get the free giveaway. So I definitely encourage you to go get those checklists so you can start applying them with your very first list building blitz campaign. Now, let's take a big moment to first take a breath. I'm talking so fast, I need to slow down. But we're going to back up a little bit and make sure you thoroughly understand the strategy in terms of content. So I think we need to talk about this content you're creating to make sure that your blitz campaign is actually extremely successful. So here's the dilemma I think many of my students face when it comes to creating content. I hear questions like, how do I know what to give away for free versus put into my paid program? Or here's another one that I get. How is my content on my blog supposed to be different from the free content that I use as a giveaway? So I think there's a lot of confusion around content. And quite honestly, I sat down and I started to kind of map out what the content looks like in different scenarios. And it kind of had me baffled a little bit as well. So you're not alone, friend, if you kind of feel like, I'm not really sure about content and where it should go and how I should create it depending on what I'm creating it for. So I actually called my good girlfriend, Gina, who used to work in the content department at Tony Robbins with me. And Gina Onativia is her name. And she's like a content queen to me. And she is so good at kind of dissecting the content and figuring out how to explain it to other people in terms of what they should create. So together we kind of worked on these scenarios. So I just want to give her a shout out. She's a dear friend and she was really helpful. So here's the deal. There are 3 stages of content that I'm identifying here in your list building blitz campaign. Number 1, paid. Number 2, your free lead magnet, free giveaway, whatever you want to call it. And number 3, just free, like in front of an opt-in. So it would be your podcast or your blog post or your YouTube video. So again, paid, which is your paid program or course or whatever it might be, free lead magnet, and then free content that's in front of an opt-in. So here's the deal. If your paid product is already created, I want you to start with your paid product in mind. So take a look at what you offer in that product and choose one of the main themes that you can use for your free content, both your opt-in and then your blog post or podcast or whatever. So you're just choosing one theme out of the entire paid product that you've already created. Now, if you've never created a product yet, I bet you have a good sense of what you want to put together, or maybe you're selling services or something a little bit different. But I want you to take whatever it is you've created to make money and then just take a sliver out of that. I call it a theme out of that so that you can expand on one theme versus trying to talk about the whole thing, because then it sounds really promotional when you go there. So take a theme out of the paid program, product, or service you're offering. Then from there, I want you to create a lead magnet that is aligned with whatever it is you're selling. So for me, I like to think of my free giveaway as something that is really specific, actionable, and dives really deep into one area. So a lot of the times in my free giveaway, I set that up like I've done with your cheat sheets today so that people can take what I've just taught them in my free podcast and apply it and take action with it and organize it easily in their head. So I tend to use my content upgrades as ways to easily organize what I just taught. But you might want to do some kind of blueprint or cheat sheet, or maybe you want to create a special training video as your free giveaway. Whatever it might be, for those that are in my Webinars That Convert course, maybe it's your webinar and you've already got that taken care of. But I just wanted to give you some guidelines. Make sure that your free giveaway moves your reader to take action, and make sure it's easy to digest. You don't want to do like a 50-page ebook as your giveaway. They'll never get through it and they'll never move to the next step with you, which is eventually to become a customer, or at least it will take them a long time to get there. So I'm not a fan of really elaborate giveaways that take forever to get through. So once you create your lead magnet, the third step is to create a piece of content, such as an epic blog post or a podcast episode. And for that, I want you to think about how can you create some content that's really valuable and also teases the next piece of the puzzle, which is having people opt into your free giveaway. So you want to leave your audience wanting more or wanting to dig deeper, like I've done throughout this entire episode. I'm teaching you a strategy. I'm making it super valuable, but I'm also having you take one extra step so you make it actionable as well. So one thing I want you to think about is that the 3 content pieces, paid, free giveaway, and free in front of an opt-in, all build on each other. So you want people engaged in your blog so they want to get your opt-in. And that opt-in is a direct link to your product. Eventually, they're going to want to buy. They're all varying levels of how folks engage and how they connect with you, but they also need to stack the value in a relationship each step of the way. So one of my favorite ways to teach is to do it myself and then kind of dissect it for you. So let me paint the picture here. As I mentioned in the intro, I have a program called List Builders Lab. It's a step-by-step course to help you decide on your lead magnet topics, create a solid foundation in your business for list building, and then create an entire strategy to attract your perfect ideal audience with a free giveaway, and then really engage that audience and build relationships so people want to buy from you. That is my paid program. Today, I'm creating a podcast episode all around one theme inside List Builders Lab. So that theme is basically content creation and using it to build your email list. And then to expand on that, I have a free giveaway for this episode, one that takes what I'm teaching here and helps you make it actionable. So you see how those 3 pieces of content fit together? Now, will you learn this exact concept in List Builders Lab? Actually, you won't. This is kind of like a little twist of some stuff that I've taught before. And I wanted to give you a mini campaign to try out, because once you start doing this, you're likely going to want to get into list building more and more. And so eventually you might want to become a member of List Builders Lab. But if you're not there yet, this is a perfect thing to kind of try on for size to see if you feel comfortable with starting to focus more on list building. See how that works? So for those of you who really want to do this and you really like step-by-step specifics, I'm going to break down how to get started. Before you even go for those checklists, let's just make sure you have the fundamentals in place. So the first thing you want to do is you want to decide on your lead magnet. Many of you already have a lead magnet. If not, I want you to check out a 2-part list building podcast episode series that I did. So number 83 is cultivating a list building mindset, and 84 is growing a lucrative email list. So 83 and 84, those are the episodes that I want you to check out because they're all about getting a list building foundation in place. So the first thing you need to do a list building Blitz campaign is you need a lead magnet. So those episodes will help you do just that. And then from there, you want to create an opt-in page to collect names and emails. I use lead pages for that. So if you go to amyporterfield.com/lead pages, you can learn about the tool that I use to create all my sign-up pages, my registration pages to collect names and emails. But that's going to be important because like from Periscope, you'll want to send people directly to a registration page. And then also inside your blog, what I use is lead boxes for my content upgrade. So if you click on any of those yellow bars inside my blog, usually a pop-up box appears. That's lead boxes. And that's my registration form as well. Now, from there, you're going to make sure that you set up an instant email that delivers on whatever you're promising. So inside your email service provider, when someone opts in, you want to make sure you send out that initial email that says, here you go, here's what I promised. Now, if you want to get some extra credit for this, I'd love to see you set up 2 more emails. So one email is to deliver what you promised. The second email is to remind them to download whatever it is that you've given them, and then maybe give them a little extra nugget, a little extra tip, tell them a story, give them a little value, maybe tell them a little bit about you and why you teach what you teach. So that would be email number 2. And then email number 3, you can get creative. You can add a little more value. You can use some images to teach something new. You can walk them through a process, but you're still staying within the theme of that epic blog post or epic podcast episode. So that would be the 3rd email. Now, why do I tell you that? Well, you've just built, if you do that, a little mini autoresponder. So when someone joins your list from this freebie that you're going to use for your Blitz campaign, they're going to get 3 emails, all related to that original topic, all getting to know you and your personality a little bit more before, let's say, you put them into your rotation of weekly emails that you're typically doing. So it's just a little way to warm them up before you pull them into your weekly email series. Now, is this very simplified? Yes. I'm just trying to get you really excited about starting to build a list building foundation. And this is one way you can do it. And then from there, before you dive into my checklist, you just want to decide, are you going to start with that epic blog post? Or are you going to start with a podcast episode? Or are you crazy and you love doing video, so you're going to start there? I'm just joking. You're not crazy. I'm the one who's crazy and should be doing more video, but it's nothing that I'm really extra comfortable with. So, it's just my thing. So for you, podcast episode, blog post, or video, decide where you want to start. And then you just dive in to those checklists and you do all of the different activities on there. Now, I'd love to see you actually do all of those in a very concentrated period of time. So here's what's important. I'd love to see you actually do that Blitz within like 3 or 4 days, all the content's been delivered. Because that concentrated time is when people start sharing and talking about it and really seeing this theme unravel with your content, which is a really good thing. So don't take 3 weeks to do that checklist. I'd like to see you do it. Remember, the word is Blitz. So in a really concentrated short period of time. Heck, you could do it all in 1 day. You could do it in 2-3 days, but really make sure that you pay attention to that word Blitz. Okay. So we are going to wrap up here, and I feel like this has been a heavy, heavy episode, so I hope you found it valuable. But a few things I want you to pay attention to. So first, when thinking about a lead magnet for the List Building Blitz campaign, you can go simple. So you can do just a PDF like I've done for this episode. Don't always think that simple means less valuable. That's not the case at all. So give yourself a little bit of a break if you're thinking you need to go really elaborate. You likely don't. However, if you're a member of Webinars That Convert, I would love for you to use a webinar as your content upgrade / free giveaway. So you're already working on it. So why not do a whole list building blitz around your webinar as the freebie? But if you've never done a webinar, don't even go there. That's not what I want you to do. I'm just speaking directly to those that are part of my Webinars That Convert program. I think that's the best way to go for you. And the next tip I have for you is to make sure that you respect the platform. Meaning, if you are going to deliver content on Instagram, make sure that you format your content in a way that makes sense for Instagram or for Twitter or whatever you're doing. Just make sure that you're not trying to fit your content into the platform, but let the platform dictate how you're going to deliver your content. Just be really aware of that so it makes sense for whatever platform you're using. And then also, I really love Edgar. So if you go to meetedgar.com, it's my tool of choice for social media scheduling. And some of this can be put into Edgar. And what I love about Edgar is it creates a content library, meaning it will actually use this content over and over again over, let's say, the next year. So if you do all this work, you can put it into Edgar and it's going to actually surface, let's say, a month from now, 2 months, however you program it. So I love the idea of the library of my content inside of Edgar getting out on social media. So not all of it can be programmed in Edgar, but a lot of it can. So just something to think about. So to wrap all of this up, the List Building Blitz campaign is really all about mindset. It's about being deliberate and aligning your content creation to your list building efforts. And it's about creating content that truly matters. So in all truth, I want to slow you down a little bit and say, let's create a piece of content that's incredibly valuable, more valuable than anything you've put out, let's say, over the last few months. But then we're going to be really deliberate about it, put it out everywhere where it matters, but always tie it back to your list building efforts. And so I hope I've done a good job today to really explain that that really is the premise of what makes this so very valuable. So my challenge for you is to download the PDF checklist, grab the one that best suits your situation, and commit to making it happen in the next 14 days. So I'm not being overly aggressive here. I'm saying in the next 2 weeks, do your list building blitz campaign. And then make sure to find me on social media and tell me all about it. What did you love? Where did you struggle? I'd love some feedback. And so maybe I can elaborate on this and really refine this content as we all get going. That's the cool thing about this whole list building blitz campaign. This is a new concept I have. I've been doing it for a while now, but I've never really shared it. So I think it's content that I can get better and better at with your feedback as we all start experimenting. I know it works well because I've done it, but I'd love to refine it and make it better. So I'm going to be paying attention to all the feedback you give me about it as well. So again, to get the checklist, all you need to do is go to amyporterfield.com/99 download or text the phrase 99 download to the number 33444. Thank you so very much for being here with me. I cannot wait to connect with you again in episode number 100 with my extra special contest that I cannot wait to tell you about next week. I can't wait to see you there. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Online Marketing Made Easy podcast at www.amyporterfield.com.